The story of this movie takes place in the year 2048, a time when Earth is no longer a place where people can live. Countries are fighting for the last remaining resources. We meet Rick and his family, who have just moved into a luxurious bungalow. They are very happy to be there. Rick's family includes his wife and son, and they soon find out that there are 13 other families living there too. These families were brought in for a special experiment by a team of scientists. The next morning, we meet Professor Martin, the leader of this project. He explains that within 10 years, Earth will be completely destroyed and unlivable. The only hope for humanity is a moon called Titan, which is a potential new home. However, right now, it's not safe for humans because it has methane rain, nitrogen in the air, and extremely cold temperatures. For people to live there, their bodies will need to undergo some changes. That's why these 14 families were chosen from a group of 5,000 people for this project. Rick is here because he was chosen for an experiment, and he says that everyone has come here willingly, so they are ready. After that, the doctors take him away to give him some shots, explaining that he will need surgery in a few weeks. He and others will receive many injections that will make their bodies able to take in more nitrogen than oxygen. Meanwhile, Rick's wife throws a party at their house, and she drinks too much, which makes her feel unwell. As Rick helps her to their room, he notices that he has a high fever. A few days later, all the families gather by a swimming pool for the experiment to see who can stay underwater the longest without breathing. One by one, people are taken out of the water. Rick and a girl manage to stay under for 40 minutes. When the girl starts to struggle, she comes out, but Rick stays underwater, and his heartbeat begins to slow down. Just before anything serious happens, he comes out of the water. Everyone cheers for him because he spent the most time underwater. A few days later, we see that Rick is taken in for surgery. On the night of his surgery, he isn't in bed with his wife. When she goes to check on him, she finds him in the kitchen, putting ice on himself because he feels too hot. Then, Avi brings him more ice, and Rick says, "I don't feel cold at all." It seems like the people sent to Titan were being prepared for the freezing conditions there, so they needed bodies that couldn't feel cold. But the main issue was that these people were dealing with methane and nitrogen gas. They were instructed to swim in water, which caused their nitrogen levels to rise. And then they had to run a lot while wearing masks. They were being trained to be ready for Titan. Days go by, and one day, while Rick is in the bathroom, he notices he's losing hair. Another guy is having the same problem. They realize these issues are a result of the medicines and experiments they have been going through to get ready for Titan. Unfortunately, one girl ends up dying, and this troubles everyone. They become very scared since they are all taking the same medicines, which means their lives are also at risk. That night, everyone gathers at Rick's house to talk about what's happening. During this meeting, one of Rick's friends gets really angry and even attacks Rick's wife in a fit of rage. This behavior started after the experiments began, and it makes everyone worried. The next day, the doctor visits Rick's house and explains that the girl who died was actually sick before the experiment started. She already had a rare disease. This disease caused her death, not the experiments being done. However, Rick felt something strange was happening. That night, Rick started vomiting blood. His wife, Avi, who was a doctor, quickly took a sample of his blood to find out what was wrong. The next day, we see Rick in the water, and something shocking happens. His skin begins peeling off. This terrifies him. At the same time, Avi studies Rick's blood in her lab. She discovers there are strange chemicals in his body, chemicals that no one told them about. She confronts Martin, the leader of the project, but he doesn't give her any answers and avoids her questions. Later, Rick has a surgery on his eyes. This surgery allows him to see in the dark. However, when Rick comes home, his condition worsens. Blood starts coming out of his eyes. He's taken back to the hospital. Avi tries to talk to the professor in charge of the experiments again, but he avoids her questions and leaves without explaining anything. When Avi goes home, she notices that the person accused of conducting dangerous experiments has become extremely aggressive. This anger caused him to kill his wife, which led the military to arrest him. Avi realizes that many secrets are being kept from her and decides to investigate further. She uses Rick's ID card to access files related to the experiments. In these files, she finds out that the girl who supposedly died from a disease didn't die naturally. Her death was caused by these experiments. Avi also overhears a conversation between the professor and NASA officials. The professor admits that the experiments on humans are unethical and could have serious consequences. The professor later visits Rick and Avi at home. He explains why he conducted these experiments. He says that he is trying to prepare humans to live on Titan, one of Saturn's moons. However, he admits that everyone's body reacts differently because of their unique DNA. He says Rick's body is special because it is adapting to the changes, but eventually, Rick will transform into a Titan creature called Homo Titan. The professor also says they don't know exactly how this transformation will affect people. Rick undergoes another surgery to enhance his body further. Now he can stay underwater for long periods and sense things better in the dark. However, the experiments on other people fail, and everyone else dies except Rick and one woman. One day, Avi visits Rick in the lab and is shocked to see him. He looks completely different. He has no hair or ears. Although Rick recognizes Avi and their son, he cannot talk like before. His voice has changed so much that normal humans cannot hear him anymore. Rick's friend, who had also undergone experiments, visits him one night. Her hands are bloody because she killed her husband in a fit of rage. The military arrives to arrest her and Rick because they are considered dangerous. The military kills Rick's friend, but Rick, now very strong, fights the soldiers and escapes. Avi follows him. Rick still loves her and uses his new power to read her mind. A military helicopter arrives, and Avi convinces Rick to surrender to protect them both. Back at the lab, the professor tells Avi that Rick needs an injection to erase his memories. This will make it easier to send him to Titan. She goes to Rick and gives him the injection, although Rick was refusing her because he doesn't want to forget his life. Now she does the same and goes away from there to her son with her friend. After they leave, Rick attacks all the soldiers there, and after killing them, Rick escapes the lab and goes back to his home, where he reunites with Avi and their son. They are overjoyed to be together again. But soon, the military arrives with the professor, insisting that Rick must leave Earth because he can no longer live as a human. They say the only way for him to survive is to go to Titan. Avi convinces Rick to go, saying it's the only way for him to stay alive for her and their son. Rick agrees and is sent to Titan. Later, Avi takes over the lab and works on new experiments to help other humans prepare for life on Titan. One day, Avi's son calls her outside to look at the sky. The weather is beautiful, and in the distance we see Titan. On Titan, Rick has fully transformed and adapted to the new environment. He stands alone but seems happy. He jumps into a lake and starts flying, showing that he is now perfectly suited for his new world. Rick waits for other humans to join him on Titan, and with that, the story ends. If you enjoyed this recap, please like and subscribe for more videos. See you next time.